Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I wanted to do a quick video explaining 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 20. The verse reads, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called." So a lot of people get confused by this verse because it says the way it's worded, it says oppositions of science falsely so called. So it seems like we should be against false science. So it would be confusing because it says to avoid oppositions of science falsely so called. So that's why it is confusing for a lot of people. Now, just as a side note, you guys know that I stick to the King James Bible only. I believe that that's the safest approach. So I no longer go into the Greek and Hebrew. And so I think that that's the best way for when studying the Bible. Compare scripture with scripture and not use any external sources. But I did look up the English definition of science. So just the plain English definition, it could refer to knowledge of any kind. So not just like how the universe is created, but knowledge of any kind. So I believe that that gives us a hint on what this is talking about. And also, given the context of what they were dealing with, which was Gnosticism at the time, and we know that just by comparing scripture with scripture and knowing about what the belief system is, I really think that that might be what this is referring to. I'm not saying it's for sure, for certain. Like I don't have all the answers, right? But just given all of that, I think it's very likely that that could be what this is referring to. So in terms of what I think that this is saying now, another great way to understand this is to compare this word science with other verses in the Bible. So we want to compare scripture with scripture. So I found this in Daniel chapter 1 verse 4. So this says, "Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had an ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans." So we can see here it says science in a positive sense. So knowledge here it says the knowledge is positive. So we know that this isn't referring to like the negative knowledge, like the different belief system, like Gnosticism. So this is referring to the knowledge of Christ, right? So the knowledge of Christ is positive, but the knowledge of good and evil, that would be bad knowledge, right? So that's how I see it there. So now in terms of 1 Timothy 6:20, when it's saying avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called, I think that that's simply referring to not focusing too much on evil, right? We should be focused on Christ and not focus too much on evil things and what the devil's doing and things like that and that kind of knowledge, right? It's okay to have just enough to, to understand what's happening, but not to be too focused on it, and to have our mind focused on Christ, right? So that's what I believe that this is referring to. That's what makes the most sense, right? To avoid oppositions of science, and that's why it says falsely so called. So it's not real science; it's evil, it's false science, false knowledge. That's what I think Gnosticism is, and to so to avoid oppositions of science falsely so called, to avoid too much, like to avoid focusing on it too much, right? To opposing it too much. And so that's what I think that this is referring to. So I hope that makes sense. All right, God bless.